Hello, Star Wars fans. Mando Mitchie back today. We're going to be working on a new custom project for the Jabba's sail barge and Jabba's palace diorama. So we see some different creatures that I've 3D printed that are allowed on the cutting mat, but today this project's going to focus specifically on this thing right here. And this is Loje Nella, the toadstool chair. 3D printed from some files that I found on Cults 3D. I will list the modeler's name and where to get that. I cannot take any credit for the file or the design. That all goes to that modeler, and you can purchase these on Cults. So look for that information. I'll talk a little bit more about the modeler later on in the video. Printed on orange PLA for no reason other than that's what was spooled up and in the printer at the time. So we're going to do the custom paint work, airbrushing some of those effects. I'm going to do some moss on the head, and I've got some ideas. I'm going to start with a beige, and then we're going to inlay some other accent colors, some browns and greens, and really, I think, make this thing look pretty cool. I'm going to go ahead and do 2 of them. I don't know if you necessarily need one on the barge and in the palace both, but I typically do 2 for both of my dioramas whenever I'm customizing and building that. And you can see I've got a couple other ones down here, the creatures, Hoover. We're going to be some other videos and 6.6 on that as well as we get going. So all right, let's go ahead and get started priming, prepping, painting, and going through the process. All right, so we have did the black primer, and then I went in with the khaki color, and it's starting to, I like the black underneath. It adds like a depth and a shadow to the look. So I typically try to go with a dark primer usually, and then I like to go light to dark. So what I think I'm going to do on this is, now that we have kind of that base khaki coat in, what I think I want to do is now on the top of his head and on his back, I'm going to start to fade in I've got a nutmeg brown that I'm going to do, and then I've got a gray green that I want to do just a little bit of highlight color with that. And then finally, I'm going to go in with this weathering. It's a streaking grime, so it's a greeny, kind of like grody looking paint from Vallejo that I used on different customs that I've done already. So I like this, and it works well in the airbrush as well. So we're going to fade these, lay these layers in and fade these colors. And then what I think I'll do after that is, we'll see what it looks like. I think then the next step's probably going to be to go ahead and paint his eyes and his mouth and see where we're at. And then what I typically do is I'll do some clear coat on him at that point to kind of set and to seal all those base colors in before we start with the washes and things. Just because if you've never done, like if you've worked with water-based like acrylic paint and you go to do a wash, well, it reactivates the paint you've already put on. And you never get, I anyway, never get the effect that I want with that. So a clear coat, just even a small amount, helps that. And then we can start to get those colors in like the ribbed pieces and all that, where we want that wash to kind of lay in and add that depth and value and texture. in there. So, all right, so let's go ahead and keep going. And I think we're going to put some brown paint on, then that gray green, and then finally with the green, and we'll see how this looks. So I'm very pleased with how this turned out. You can see we've got able to blend those colors and leave the kind of that chest, that reptilian chest piece the way I wanted it there. But yeah, so we did a khaki to start, and then we did like a nutmeg brown, and then a grayish green, followed up with like a grimy green. So I'm very pleased. And if you've not airbrushed before, you can't blend colors like this with a brush. At least I can't. So, and I'm always just amazed at how well things turn out when I start going down these roads. And it's about contrast, layering colors, the steps, and the only way to really, I'm no expert at all. I see people that just amaze me. I wouldn't consider myself an artist or anything like that, creative like some people that I've seen, but this is just a really cool skill to develop, and I'm learning all the time. So very new to airbrushing myself. So yeah, so what I think I'm going to do is get ready to, I want to paint the eyes and the mouth, and you can see just with that highlight color, when I went in with that green, we're already seeing those ribs start to pop there, and that's the goal. And I want to outline, you can see the arms and the fingers there. I think the wash is really going to make those pop out as well and look really cool when we get to that part. So I think what I'd like to do before the clear coat is go ahead and paint the eyes and the mouth. So let's get ready to do that, and then we'll continue on. Custom Loje Nella, nicknamed the Toadstool Terror. So she was an intelligent cliff borer worm, is what lore and legend describe her as, and she's also described as she was one of the assistant accountants in Jabba's palace and in his crime syndicate to Mos Beni. Mohsen Benid was believed to be the consigliere for Jabba, and Loje Nella was an assistant to him, managing the finances for the crime boss. So we'll do a little bit of a panorama. You can see, I'll show some images, but as she was placed in the palace, she did have a moss attached to her head. So I wanted to do that. I attached that and then airbrushed that in. So see her eyes and just the details. So Jabba Customs is the modeler on Colts 3D if you're interested in this. And then you can see in the details the paint color schemes that I went with. Some of the pictures show her being much lighter, so it's hard to tell. The image of her appearance in the palace was hard to see. Definitely a background character, and one I doubt Hasbro is going to make. So I'm glad to have her, and she's in with another custom by Jabba Customs, and that's K-Natus. So check out, there's some custom videos on her in my YouTube library on that Jabba's Palace playlist. And again, if you've not seen my work building Jabba's Palace, check that out. That was really a cool experience, assembling all these figures and then creating this diorama. So very, 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 very cool. A lot of fun. All right, so let's go take, I don't think Loje Nella was thought to be on the barge, but I went ahead and printed a second figure as well, and I'm going to have her aboard the katana. So let's look at her there as we wrap up this video. All right, there she is. The Toadstool Terror. Really, really satisfied how the paint scheme and the layering and the detail went up on this. So really, really cool. So if you've not watched this playlist, building, 3D printing and assembling the Katana sail barge, you need to maybe take some time to go check that out if you love all things Jabba's Palace. So this was really, really neat. I want to kind of go through here slowly. I did wire in lights and all in this custom build. We see all the usual suspects in here. You can see there's another K-Natus in the back. Yeah, it was just so neat to do that. You can see there's deck lights on the top, complete interior lights in that. The cockpit, there's lights wired in there, and then wanted to show the rear engine lights. Very, very cool. Paired with the prisoner skiff, that's complete. So thankful that Hasbro's made all of those figures. Then we do have the Pit of Carcoon, the Sarlacc. So coming up, I'm actually going to be doing this second skiff. I think there's 4 figures made from that. I did a custom for a 5th, and we have plans for the other 3 as well. So I'm going to be working on that this year, I hope. So again, Loje Nella, the Cliff Borer Worm, the Riorian, the Toadstool Terror. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're new, I would ask you to consider subscribing, then you'll be made aware of new videos that I drop, and it might be customs, world building, diorama building, custom or vintage Kenner collecting, 3D printing, cosplay, you name it. I just love this hobby so much. So again, like, subscribe, and again, God bless you all. Thanks so much for watching. This is Mando Mitchie. We'll see you next time.